look at simplifying expressions. We're going to do a lot of this. Like, this is part of math that you will not, no matter what math you're doing, you still have to simplify expressions, okay? Geometry, trigonometry, you're doing algebra, it's all part of simplifying expressions, okay? So remember that whenever you're simplifying expressions, we have the order of operation that must be followed, okay? And that would be BEDMAS, as you all should know it by, right? So it's bracket first, exponent, division, multiplication, in the order they appear in, addition and subtraction, okay? So remember that division and multiplication, they're in the order that they appear in. So if division happens first, then you have to do that first. If multiplication happens first, you have to do that first. Okay, so that's when you're simplifying expressions. Also, when you have two terms that are multiplied together, or two binomial, or two trinomial, or whatever it is that are multiplying together, you're going to have to use the distributive property or the FOIL method, and then you're going to collect like terms. We talked about like terms and what defines like terms. So if I'm looking at the first example here, it's asked me to simplify first and then evaluate where possible. So if I'm looking at the first one, what do I have to do first? Like, when you look at this, what would be the first thing that you want to do? Anything inside the bracket. So where would any operation that I have inside a bracket, right? So the first one is in bracket, but I don't have to deal with it yet, okay? So I can now, in the second bracket, there is an operation happening there. So there's 3 minus 7. I have to simplify that first. Okay? So 3 take away 7 is negative 4 squared, and I can minus 3 squared. Okay, so I dealt with whatever is inside the bracket, then I have to do the exponents, right? So terms that have exponents. So in this case, negative 2 cubed, that's going to give me negative 8 times 16. I technically don't need that bracket anymore because it's a positive 16, so I don't have to put in bracket, okay? Now, what you see here, you see a negative and followed by another negative, okay? I can simplify that since I'm there. That's an addition, right? So 2 negatives after each other, that can be changed to an addition. So that's going to be plus. And then what would be my last term?
Minus 9.
Negative 9. Now, why is this not positive? Because it's not in the bracket. Okay? You see how that negative 4 squared turned into a positive? That's not going to turn into a positive because the negative is not inside the bracket. Okay? Now, I got rid of all my exponents. What would be my next step?
Negative 8 times 16.
Correct. So the multiplication, what does that give me? Negative 128. Okay? So now I have all addition and subtraction, so I can do it all together, right? So what would that be? 4, so that's negative 124, negative 133. All right, okay? So, BEDMAS is an important topic that you should not forget, okay? For my next question, I have negative 2xy multiplied by x plus 5. What do I have to do here? If I can simplify the bracket, I can, in this case, right? I have to multiply, right? We call that the distributive property, okay? So I don't know if you guys remember this, but distributive property means when you have something on the outside multiplied by the bracket, that something has to be multiplied by everything inside the bracket, okay? That's why it's called the distributive property. So I have to multiply that negative 2xy by x and negative 2xy by the 5y. So negative 2xy times x,
Negative 2x squared.
negative
Y
2x squared y. Any questions about why is that?
We multiply by x, it doesn't combine inside.
That's right.
We should put yx or only.
It doesn't matter, like you mean yx or x squared, what? Well, I don't
No,
know.
like negative 2 multiply. So negative 8 comes by itself.
Uh-huh.
So x times x squared.
Yep.
So y we don't multiply in x like it comes
No,
with yx.
no. Because what you have here is you have this, okay? Right? That's what we have, right? So if I want to simplify this, we just looked at the exponent law, not exponent, yeah, the exponent law. If I want to simplify this, x and x, they have the same base, so I just have to add their exponent, right? Which is going to give me x squared, right? And then the y stays the y, right? They're all multiplied together. Right? Okay, what would be my second term? So I have negative 2xy times 5.
Negative 10
Negative 10
x
x.
y squared.
Yeah. Is there anything else I can do with this?
Yes.
Yeah, negative 10.
Kinda just left it like that still.
Why did you leave it like that, Josiah?
I couldn't really,
No, we have to
I
add
couldn't
it to the.
really do anything else with the equation.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do, right? Look at these, they're not like terms. They're not. Why are they not like terms? Because this,
Variable are not the same.
that's right. So you have the variable here, x and x, but this exponent is squared, this exponent is 1. So right away, you're like, no, that's it. I can't do anything. I'm going to stop. Okay, they're not like terms. Okay?
It's a bit trickier.
All right. How about C? So when I have two binomial,
Is it double multiplication?
what do we call that? What's the process? Do you remember? No.
I don't know. That's not FOIL, is it?
Yeah.
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 X
Okay.
squared.
So FOIL means you're multiplying first by first,
Yeah, the second by second.
the outer together, the inner, and the last, right? So that's what FOIL stands for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology. So F stands for first, so I'm multiplying my first terms.
X squared.
So that's going to be x squared. I'm going to have to multiply my outer terms, plus 4x. Inner term, negative 3x. And last term, negative 2. Okay? So each term in the first bracket is going to be multiplied by the terms in the second bracket. Now, do I have like terms? Which are? So my middle two terms, these are like terms, so that's going to give me plus x minus 12. Okay. The last term is probably the last term. The last question is probably the trickiest of all four questions. What do we need to do here?
Yeah, I didn't touch that one. I don't know. You have to multiply, you have to multiply first.
Multiply what first?
The exponent.
Exponent.
What exponent?
The second bracket. To the 3x.
So bring that exponent in.
Yeah.
Making the 2x.
Before the brackets first.
Which brackets?
The first one.
Which first one?
The 3x plus 5.
What would I fold it by? What would I fold it with?
No, I mean, I know that 3x has to be with the multiply. Oops, just 1 second. 3x exponent by 2, and then add 3x plus 5, add them together, and then the last one 5 exponent by 2. Like a 3x
Okay.
plus 5.
So you're multiplied.
multiplied by 3x.
Thank
plus
you.
2.
That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So, guys, remember that if I have a plus or minus in the bracket, I cannot distribute the square in. twice. And then for this one, I'm just gonna keep it the same for now. BEDMAS says I have to multiply first, right? So I have to multiply my first two brackets together, right? That's the first step. So I have to FOIL, and we learned that 3x times 3x is 9x squared, 3x times 5, 5 plus 3x, and then 5 times 5, 20. So I did the FOIL. I did the multiplication. Okay? I'm not gonna skip steps just because I wanna make sure that you guys are comfortable with this. Then we can start skipping steps. Okay, what would you do next?
Inside the second bracket.
Second bracket?
What do I do with the second bracket?
The exponent in it.
Or subtract.
There's no outside exponent, so this is just like terms that are added and subtracted together, okay? But you see that negative outside that bracket? That's going to affect everything inside the bracket. There is a reason for that bracket there, right? So that bracket is telling you that this whole thing is affected by the negative, okay?
Can you simplify the
You can,
y, the 9? Yeah, that's what.
yeah. So you can do that. So what Josiah is saying is that, can I add these two terms, right? Simplify. Yeah, I can. Now, I want to remove the bracket, okay? So I can add the terms and subtract, okay? To remove the bracket, I have to
Multiplied by 1, right?
negative, right? You see that negative? It's going to affect everything inside the bracket, okay? So it's going to be negative 2x squared plus 2x minus 3. Yeah. And now, because there's no more brackets, it's just terms that are added and subtracted, I can collect like terms. Okay? My like terms are 9x squared and
Negative 2x squared.
negative 2x squared, so that's going to be 7x squared, right? 9 take away 2.
Yeah.
I have the 30x and the
Just
2x, so that's going to be
32.
32x. And then 25 take away 3, that's positive 22. All right, so what I want you to do right now is you see the next page, which is the classwork combining like terms and distributive property. So there is a page that's double-sided. This is basically your homework. This is what I want you guys to do. You can work on this right now, all right? And then whatever is not done, you can work at